pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is Shaylin doing the roll call tonight?
Mayor Holtzclaw, Mayor Pro Tem Vignell,
Here.
Councilmember Cavallari,
Here.
Councilmember Steckler,
Here.
Councilmember Allison,
Here.
Councilmember Duque,
Here.
and Councilmember Paddock.
Present.
Mayor Holtzclaw told us that he would be on vacation this week. Can I have a motion to excuse?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. I move over to the next page. Next up, we have audience communication. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak this evening? Okay, seeing no one in the audience, is there anyone online who'd like to speak this evening? I don't see anyone on there. There will be another chance for public communication at the end of the meeting. Next up, we have presentations. Tonight, I have a National Police Week proclamation. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas Police Week was established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962 and pays special recognition to those in America's law enforcement community. And whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement peace officers serving in communities across the United States and 23 commission members of the Mill Creek Police Department who play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Mill Creek. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the challenges, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and whereas the members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property through protecting them against violence or disorder, as well as protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas since 1786, over 24,000 peace officers have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half staff. Now therefore, I, Stephanie Vignell, the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Mill Creek, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 12th, 2024 through May 18th, 2024 as National Police Week in the City of Mill Creek, and encourage the members of our community to join in honoring our law enforcement officers and take a moment to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Yeah. Now, could we please take a photo with our officers?
Where'd you get like this?
Right there.
Oh, yeah. You guys. Hold on.
How do you want to do it?
No, panoramic, thanks.
Can we do the flying V thing? Okay,
Sure.
But I need somebody.
Or
give the proclamation.
To the chief.
The chief?
No,
No, they want. We're having you do it. You will right behind them.
We only have 2 hours.
Oh, about you guys.
Oh, okay. This is the
What?
first picture.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for all you do.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Hey, Chief, you can provide a proclamation. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, will the next one be this exciting?
Yeah, it will.
Yes, it will. I tend to plot again.
All right, next up, we have a proclamation for National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Mill Creek. And whereas the city's infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and a resilient maintenance crew who are all responsible for rebuilding, improving, and the proactive maintenance of our city's transportation, public buildings, parks and facilities, and other structures, which are all essential for our community members. And whereas the Public Works Maintenance Crew works diligently above and beyond regular work hours to care for the city on nights, weekends, and during dangerous emergencies. And whereas this year's theme for the National Public Works Week is advancing quality of life for all, highlighting public works professionals that provide essential services that lead to healthier, happier, more vibrant communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie Vignal, the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Mill Creek, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 19th, 2024 through May 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week in the City of Mill Creek. Now, would you guys like to come up and receive the proclamation and get a picture?
Oh, yeah.
Mike?
Not a request, not a question. Painless, I like it, dude. Painless. Painless. Shameless.
Just like that. Yes, okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
So funny.
You guys, all your hard work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the proclamation.
Hey, James.
James, you got it.
Thank you, guys.
I know, when's National City Council Member Week? Next up, we next up, we have a presentation from the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County. Martin Yamamoto, City Manager, and Wendy, how do I say your last name, Wendy?
It's Poischbeg.
Poischbeg, I wouldn't have been too far off. Interim President and CEO will present.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. So I just want to give a quick intro. Wendy Poischbeg, and who is the interim CEO and president of the EASC, and also Aileen Ford, who's the economic development professional on their team as well. I've been meeting with those two for the past few months because I wanted to re-engage the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County in discussions with us, just give them an idea of kind of what we're working on and all the projects. And I believe they're going forward. It's going to be a great partnership as we continue to work with them. I think they can provide us with a lot of insight on not only Snohomish County, but also the region, kind of what's happening out there. There are a lot of key assets within this county in itself where they could be able to provide us with advisement on expanding our partnerships, advising us on how to continue to build our infrastructure systems to increase the economic vitality across the city of Mill Creek. So with that, I'll introduce Wendy, and she'll explain a little bit about Economic Alliance.
Great. Good evening, everyone, members of the Mill Creek City Council and attendees. Thank you for welcoming me here today. I'm Wendy Poischbeg, Interim CEO and President representing Economic Alliance Snohomish County. Slide, please. Our mission is to drive economic vitality and prosperity across our county, which is only possible through strong partnerships like the one we have with Mill Creek. Economic Alliance Snohomish County is a catalyst for economic vitality, resulting in stronger communities. Through strategic funding from both private and public sources, including grants, sponsorships, and government contracts, we bring together diverse sectors to enhance our county's economic landscape. These collaborative efforts benefit the communities countywide, including Mill Creek, by fostering a supportive business environment and driving economic vitality. At EASC, we're guided by 6 foundational pillars that underpin our strategy to foster economic vitality. Each pillar is crafted to not only drive regional growth, but also deliver specific benefits to communities like Mill Creek. Advocacy, we strive to harmonize the voices across our county to influence and boost economic vitality for all. For instance, we just brought a delegation of 35 members of our community, including cities, to Washington, D.C. to advocate for policies. The city of Lake Stevens brought 9 members of their city council because last year they were able to secure $40 million in infrastructure projects because they had built relationships, and they use EASC's platform of the DC fly-in to leverage that. Monroe brought 2, and so this is basically my invitation to you to put that on your budget and in your work plan for next year and join us. That happens every May. Our proactive advocacy and business attraction, our business-friendly environment attracts new companies from beyond our borders. This influx of business energizes the local economy, creating more jobs and opportunities right here in Mill Creek. We leverage funding and partnerships to implement solutions that address local challenges, enhance quality of life. And we strengthen our business community. That's the priority. We achieve that through robust partnerships and resources. We value our relationship with the Mill Creek Chamber of Commerce and look for opportunities to enhance the ecosystem together. We work together rather than compete for resources. And then workforce development is really strong for us. Workforce issues are the #1 issue that we hear from our business community, and we work to strengthen that as the industry demands. For instance, there's companies that will tell us what their challenges are, and then we align them with higher learning or training institutions that can help curriculum development or new training programs that will enhance their, help them get to overcome some of the workforce barriers that they are facing. So these pillars are not just strategies, they're a commitment to ensuring that Mill Creek and all of Snohomish County flourish together. Today, I'd like to show you how we are working directly with companies that are in Mill Creek. Last year, 6 Mill Creek businesses enhanced their operational capabilities through our Apex program. It used to be called PTAC, and it's our technical assistance and contracting. Additionally, 3 of your local businesses received personalized one-on-one advising, totaling hours of expert guidance. And persistence pays off. While not all trained businesses immediately secure contracts, one Mill Creek client who is consistently engaged with our Apex services was awarded contracts worth of $24,000 last year in 2023. Our Small Business Development Center, SBDC, isn't just about advice, it's about substantial financial growth. And in 2023, we assisted 5 Mill Creek businesses, helping them secure a remarkable $940,000 in capital funding. And this funding plays a crucial role in establishing or enabling business expansion and sustainability. These snippets highlight the real tangible benefits that EASC's engagement with the Mill Creek business community has. We're not just here for support, we're here to catalyze significant growth and success. As the designated associate development organization for Snohomish County, we're entrusted by the Washington State Department of Commerce. And what that looks like is every county has designated by the executive. He chooses an organization to move the state's policies forward. And EASC is that state's designated organization. And sometimes you hear us called the ADO. In 2023, we took charge of 147 pivotal projects, including 109 business retention and expansion interactions and 36 recruitment projects. A prime example of some of the impact that we have is an example in Stanwood, the No Meat Factory. Following the closure of the Twin City Foods in 2017, that shuttered that facility and that community lost 85 jobs. And then last year, we worked on an attraction project for a Canadian plant protein company. And they signed a long-term lease, and that food processor promises to have 250 new jobs. We're getting ready for that ribbon cutting. And as an example of some of the work we do, it's a Canadian company. We helped secure their workforce visas. We helped introduce them to how America operates their healthcare systems. Food processing uses USDA and not just the health district. These are things that an international company wouldn't know. And that is the expertise that EASC brings that makes it an easy transition for companies to be able to do business in Snohomish County and the US. Another example of some work we've been doing that impacts Mill Creek is Mount Lake Terrace and Linwood are soon to have regional connectivity and market access. That Linwood Light Rail Station that's opening on August 30th and championed by EASC brings Mill Creek closer to major destinations, will alleviate your traffic and attract new businesses, fostering a thriving and connected community. We're also working to support the expansion of the Port of Everett boundaries and the enhancement of its foreign trade zones. These initiatives will directly benefit Mill Creek by creating new trade and logistic opportunities for your local businesses, driving growth and strengthening our region's global competitiveness. Our advocacy doesn't stop at the local level. I mentioned that we just took a group to Washington, D.C. to talk with our federal legislators, but we've also secured significant investment and influence policies that create a favorable business climate around the county. And this includes over $554 million in state and federal funding directed towards infrastructure and educational advancements. And these efforts impact Mill Creek businesses by providing a more robust infrastructure and a better trained workforce, which are crucial for your business's growth and sustainability. Looking ahead, we're excited about new initiatives that will directly benefit Mill Creek, including our effort for designation as an automation cluster. You don't have lots of room in Mill Creek for like massive manufacturing or, these huge production centers, but what you do have, besides a lot of professional services, financial and health related, you have a lot of engineering, AI and tech talent and office space that is very attractive to that. And as EASC works to have a designated automation cluster, not only are the companies, our advanced manufacturing companies that have turned to automation in order to meet their market demands or some of their workforce challenges, we have a plethora of companies that are innovating in that automation space. And a group like EASC, what a cluster designation will mean for us is access to R&D funding, workforce training for that for those companies that are in automation. And that crosses many different industries. And I think that that's a really good spot for projects with Mill Creek. We also envision a deeper collaboration. Martin has talked about, has invited us to an economic development committee. We've been meeting at least it seems like once a month or once every 2 months in the last, since the beginning of the year. And we're bringing forth our ideas, our knowledge of the region, so we can help advise on projects or good businesses that are a fit for your community and not just sending you somebody that it's not going to enhance your cachet or the residents or what already makes Mill Creek such a special place. So I invite you, the council members, to share your insights and priorities and ensure that your future projects help us to make sure that the future projects and the needs of Mill Creek that we're addressing together. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Looks like Councilmember Steckler has a question.
I do. Thank you. Great presentation and congratulations. My question is about small, medium-sized businesses, which basically populate our city. And also not just the businesses that are retail storefronts, but also the home-based businesses that are proliferating. We estimate probably 20% of our population has has home-based businesses that they're operating. And you talked about the services that you offer, administrative support for small businesses. I'm also interested in any other services that you've thought about offering them, specifically maybe how to utilize social media effectively, because it can be done correctly with small businesses, and it can easily be a waste of money for small businesses if done incorrectly. So I was wondering if you had an experience in offering that, or if you're looking at bringing something like that forward.
We do. And remember, Funko started as a home-based business in
That's right.
Snohomish.
That's right.
We offer a lot of different technical assistance, everything from writing your business plan, fiscal responsibility, export and import and export. A lot of folks are intimidated by export, but that's like a great area of growth. And speaking of for this community, AI and technical IP is a product you can export. So, you know, when we have these companies that are leveraging gaming or their skills in software, those can be exported as well. Doesn't have to be a physical product. Our SBDC and Apex, our Small Business Development Center and Apex, we offer workshops as well as one-to-one counseling. So for businesses that the micro, I call them micro businesses, under 20 employees, the federal government states a small business is 500 employees. That doesn't reflect the community of Snohomish County outside of public institutions. Boeing and ATS are your largest employers. At the largest is, 1,000. So the micro businesses, the 5 and 10s are our bread and butter all the way around. So we really do focus on meeting them where they're at. We have SCORE, which is counseling from professionals that have they've been CEOs, they're been in leadership positions, run companies, and now they are willing to give back their expertise give back their expertise. We also partner with the Northwest Innovation Resource Center, which is a great space for makers. So everything from 3D printing, maker space. And then we link them with industry professionals. So say you have a product that you want to get off the ground, and we've vetted it to get you from point A to point B. Then we link you with industry professionals that can help you overcome challenges and barriers to get you to that next stage of growth.
I guess and specifically regarding social media applications like Instagram and
Yes.
utilization and that type of thing.
TikTok.
That's something that's, I'm in consulting, so home-based consulting. So that's a very open category for us, and
Yeah.
Anyone who's in it is overloaded, and it's a cry for the small businesses that could use that support. Have you done anything specifically like that, or something you could look at in the future? We would be very
We
interested.
do specifically do that. We also champion for some of our investors are also marketing professionals. We do try to link them as well. As you know, as a consultant, social media is an ever-evolving landscape that a lot of professionals or companies give to their kids. They think that that's the way you just do it. And the algorithms are always evolving and the platforms are always changing. And so keeping in front of that takes a concerted effort, as you know. And so, yes, we do offer that, and send them our way. And
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Paddock?
Thank you for the presentation.
Appreciate it.
One of the things I really appreciated about it was the specificity of the benefits that are coming into the community. So I really, and always appreciate when that's brought to the table. So thank you. How does your group work with the Mill Creek Chamber of Commerce, or does it? And maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
We do. We have a nice relationship with the chamber. We just met with Greg and Jeff. You have a rock star in Jeff Ritter, who gives a lot of his energy. That's a full-time job at a half-time pace, right? And so to answer your question, we're exploring areas where we can collaborate besides just the networking events. Our robust membership is a benefit to local chambers because when we collaborate on events or programs, we bring that large customer base. Sometimes our communities or smaller cities they work so well together, but they need to get out of their city to get new business, right? New business growth. And we're really good at bringing like the Edmonds Chamber with the Arlington Chamber, and that brings new blood into the ecosystem so you can expand business and relationships. There's I don't have specifics on any programming that we're doing outside of events and networking that we work with the chamber on. But when we had lunch, we talked about there would be some opportunities, but you have a great gem there.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions, but thank you for the presentation. I'm looking forward to us building the relationship with the Economic Alliance. So
Appreciate it.
thank you for coming in tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.
All right, next up, we have a presentation on the Public Works Yard discussion. Robert Bean, project engineer, is listed. Oh, he's got different.
Yeah, but
The one last, was that cars, or was that roads? That was roads last time.
This one is from Todd, age 12, bumper to bumper.
Well,
I love it.
These ties came out in the early 90s. They're all silk. And so I thought I was into it. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, honored guests, thank you for allowing me to come here and speak about the Public Works Yard Facility Engineering Study. This is the first project in a program that will ultimately design and construct a new maintenance and operations facility. Our current operations facility is a one-bay garage and an unsecured lot that has inadequate space for material storage, equipment, or just parking of existing vehicles, not to speak about future vehicles that are necessary to maintain the city. Some of the items that we would be looking for, well, what this project is going to do in the end is we're going to select a parcel to bring back to you for permission to acquire. We're going to do that with a multidisciplinary team. You'll notice this picture on the left here, well, on your right, is just to give you a spatial concept of how large a parcel would be for a city of our size. This picture from a previous presentation to the council is an old picture. They've actually modified this lot to fit at their needs as time has gone on. So our team will do an analysis of current and future city operational needs. The maintenance yard should have an adequate building, yard space, office space for staff, garage and workshops, covered and uncovered storage, materials yard, and service bay. The way this project's need assessment is first going to describe the facility's equipment and special requirements, make sure that we understand all of the codes and the environmental requirements, develop a preliminary building layout. And these photographs here, one, the storage, the covered storage is a way that they've modified the Mukilteo yard. And the exhibit below is a possible exhibit that we would see in our needs analysis that kind of shows generally how buildings could be laid out and the way that people and vehicle circulation could occur. It would also identify utilities that would be needed for the yard, including fuel. So from that, we're going to determine a size that's needed and identify properties that match that requirement within our urban growth boundary. After that's happened, we're going to develop a scoring evaluation to select a parcel and then propose a parcel for city approval. This first project will be starting soon. We're going to submit a request for qualifications here towards the end of the month and make a consultant selection towards the end of June. We're going to negotiate scope and fee and come back to council in September for that approval with that consultant. Then from there, we're going to work to define the layout of the maintenance needs and then evaluate our results before we come back for permission to move forward and looking for parcels. We'll begin that search in early January, and we'll be back in March with a selected parcel to present in front of you. Any questions?
Councilmember Cavallari?
Thanks, Mayor. Good presentation, and I think some of us have been around for a little bit. We've been screaming from the rooftops for a public works facility. But this is the first time I've heard the words urban growth boundary, meaning that you're looking outside of the city as well for a potential location, correct?
We've broadened our area. Yes.
Smart thinking. I mean, I appreciate that because as we, the 2 or 3 that we've had on the map from, prior sessions, just were never big enough or the deal fell through. So good job thinking outside the box, everybody involved here, because I think that's probably appropriate. Thanks.
Councilmember Duque?
So that was actually my first question too, was about if you would be looking outside of Mill Creek. Because I would hope if you or if someone else from the team can share with us just a little bit background of previous searches that were done, because I wasn't on council at the time. I know I was listening in. And so I think that's helpful in understanding where we are with this and why you've decided to go in this direction.
I'd like to defer to Director Todd.
I figured.
I'll give you the short history. So many years ago, we looked at the Silver Lake Water District property when they first went from the small tank to the bigger tank, and then they weren't using the front of that property. Change of administration, change of council, change of decisions, and the city got focused on looking at the Cook property as a potential place. And what happened at that point was they started looking at a shop instead of looking at a facility. And that shop didn't come to fruition. There was a heavily, as you know, Cook is heavily encumbered by wetlands. There wasn't really enough space for it. So that project kind of got stalled and stopped. And so it became a capital project to just do an engineering study. And that's kind of the money we're spending now from many years ago, is to say, let's go really look where we should go. We looked again at the Silver Lake property, and that looked like another possibility. Again, it was only about 2 acres instead of probably 4 or 5 like we might need. But during COVID, Silver Lake Water District said, it's kind of handy having a second location. And so they said, we'd like to keep the back 2/3. We'll give you the old admin building on the front to purchase, but we really want to keep the shop. And so that became less attractive. So that was during Michael Caravino time we negotiated, but during COVID, that kind of all stopped. We've looked at other places over the years. We looked down on 9th. We've looked just other places around here. Really, the team came to the realization if you can look for a parcel that maybe is big enough for a shop and a facility, it could be 5 acres. That's what Mukilteo's got, is 5 acres, about the same size and same size city and same population as we are. It might be outside of city limits. It might be just barely outside of city limits. But if you look only inside of city limits, there's not a lot of flat parcels you can build on that aren't already housing or something else has already been built. So that was the decision. I think where we would probably bias our evaluation criteria towards something that was close to the center of town, but you might decide to say, let's talk about annexing along 164th or annex down south. And so some of these places might be convenient. So that's kind of the short story. There's a lot more nuances along the way, but that's kind of where we've been.
No, that was perfect, because I just think it's really important for us to have that background as we look at this, because it's been some time. And so thank you. Yeah, because my other question was the outside of Mill Creek. And then I just was concerned about spreading our offices or spaces for disconnect, because I did see that part of it is looking at for office space or what that looks like. It makes sense when there's a shop. I'm not in public works, so I could see that being something important, especially because we're limited by our boundaries here in City Hall, meaning it's nice to have everyone kind of all city workers in one space. That's like the ideal, but also realistically, it's not always possible. So as you look at locations and places, thinking through other cities that have the same issue where they're outside, further away, seeing how we can make sure that it still feels connected, that the employees feel, still feel a part of the city community and not just like a stepchild. So that was my concern.
Yes, no, indeed. Anytime you get outside of one building, you have a level of
Mhm.
separation. Just the fact that we live in two different buildings here, it means it's a 5-minute commute, walking back and forth, and we just don't commute as much as we should. We don't wander by our desks, so we appreciate that.
Exactly. So
And
that's just,
particularly what Robert's talking about here, that we need office space for the public works crew. If
Mhm.
they're gonna have a training session, right now, they're using the executive conference room at 7 o'clock in the morning. But if you move them somewhere else, they have to have that kind of space
Mhm.
for a lunchroom and for office space, that you don't think of them sitting at desks, but there are times you need to do that. So
Yes.
we've observed that other facilities.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And being part of APWA, there have been times when the maintenance group has felt siloed over there because they're just busy doing their stuff. They come in, get it done, and they don't really see us. So I've experienced some team building methods that kind of bring us all together once in a while to make sure that we're all recognizing who our teams are. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited to start to move forward on this. I'm tired of seeing all the cars out here, all the public works trucks out there taking up, and the parking spaces getting so full with events going on or people coming for passports. So I'm looking forward to us finding a home for everything. I think it will help us to serve the residents better when they come down to City Hall. So thank you for the presentation.
Wait till the street sweeper gets here too.
It will fill that show.
Yes. Okay, next up, we have, I just got lost. Oh, next up, I need to announce that we are skipping the executive session tonight. That has been removed, and I believe we will be taking that up on the 28th unless that changes. And then next we have old business with the resolution related to Snohomish County Affordable Housing and Behavioral Health Fund Interlocal Agreement. Martin Yamamoto, City Manager, is going to speak to this, and it looks like we also have Mary Jane online as well.
Yeah, that's correct. I want to thank Mary Jane for attending again. Mary Jane Brel-Vihovich, that's how you pronounce it. So Mary Jane, thanks for joining us. I'm not going to go through this PowerPoint because this was presented last week. I just realized that 2 of the 6 of you were not here last week. So we might put Mary Jane to work tonight. And if you have a lot of questions about what this is all about. So last week we had the opportunity to listen to Mary Jane provide a presentation. We had a study session on Snohomish County's Human Services project, which is the relates to an award process for the tax revenues that they're receiving in relation to affordable and supportive housing sales tax credit, as well as the sales and use tax for affordable housing and behavioral health. There's an RCW that supports this, and also there's 2 Snohomish County codes that also support these 2 initiatives. One of the things that she covered last week on a very high level, and the presentation goes into much detail on these 3 different topics, including the systemic challenges. This is all on your agenda summary, so you probably already read this, but with behavioral health, affordable housing, and homelessness. She talked about the proposal to increase resources through affordable housing and behavioral health, also known as the HBH Capital Fund Investment Plan. And there's also a process involved to determine how those resources be obligated. And within that process, each city that is part of this ILA will have 1 seat on the TAC, which is the Technical Advisory Committee. And so if the goal for this session is, if you should decide to sign on the ILA, is to assign a primary and a backup person for this committee. That will be 1 member that will help assess, how the funding is going to be allocated across these projects. So one one of the things that Councilmember Paddock asked last week was to identify which cities are signed on. So in your agenda summary, you'll notice that besides Mill Creek, there are 19 other cities that have been notified, and I don't know how many have signed on, but I think there's a handful here, and it's in addition to City of Everett that approved the ILA, and they're actually waiting. The county's awaiting a copy of that executed agreement. So with that, I guess I'll leave it open for questions for Mary Jane, and then you can decide if you'd like to move forward or continue thinking about the initiatives.
Okay, do we have new questions? Councilmember Cavallari?
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Mary Jane. I did get a chance to review this. So the committee that we'd be forming is just, I guess, essentially just deciding where the money that the county collects, how it's going to be best spent for the programs that are proposed, right? In a nutshell.
Yes, yes, that's correct. So this, the Snohomish County Human Services Department would issue notices of funding opportunities out to developers, be those or behavioral health facilities or various types of housing. Proposals would come back in. Staff would do a technical review of those just to make sure that they are eligible. And if they're a behavioral health facility, they'd also be reviewed by our behavioral health, chemical dependency and mental health advisory board. Then they would go to the technical advisory committee to review and rate, have a discussion about, and form a recommendation to carry forward to the policy advisory board, and then to Snohomish County Council of which of those proposals to fund. Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I entertain a motion? Was there one?
Let's see
in
if I can
here?
get to the cheat sheet here.
Yep.
I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to make the motion to authorize the city manager to sign on to the interlocal agreement with Snohomish County to participate in the award process for affordable housing, behavioral health, acronym AHBH funds, and commit to other local agency obligations per the ILA.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Did anyone want to speak to the motion?
I know we'd be looking to assign someone to the committee. I would throw my name in the hat for my background in behavioral health, number one. But the last 3 to 4 years on Snow 911 has really kind of helped me kind of figure out where the dollars go, how they're best spent. And so I'm happy to have the conversation further and happy to represent the city and in our ILA. Thanks.
I would second that, Councilman Cavallari.
Martin, would we be deciding who would be on there tonight, or are we having that discussion later? Because the motion just was for the.
Yeah, that would be preferable if you could do that, or we can do it later. You need a backup as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be your backup. I'd be happy to be Councilman Cavallari's backup if he can't, for any reason can't. But I'd like him to be the primary.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Have a motion and a second. Discussion is over unless anyone else has anything else. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Mary Jane.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary
you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and City Manager Yamamoto. Really appreciate it. We're really excited to be working with you on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have new business. We have the state grant for Memorial Park improvement. City Manager.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. So we're bringing this back, and what prompted us to bring this forward is initial discussion about what the governance manual indicated in terms of how we bring grants forward, or start the process of bringing grants forward to City Council. Originally, we thought that we needed council approval, but there are certain provisions in that governance manual that relates to material impact of potential grants, as well as if those what's that second one? If the grants, oh yeah, if there's a policy impact for those grants, thanks. And so we come to the conclusion that in this case, really, there isn't a policy impact, nor there are matching funds that are of material impact. So, but we will still want to bring this forward because I think given the context of what's happening and how important it was to make sure that there's clarity across the entire full scope of the project, including the drainage study, the tot lot, and this proposed improvement to what we're going to start calling Veterans Monument. And you'll hear more about the reason why we're going to do that. But we wanted to just give you kind of the whole scope of what's going to happen in the near future and kind of steps. And at the end, we're looking for just kind of your affirmation to continue to move forward with everything. So with that, I'll hand it over to Director Todd to cover everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council and guests. Yeah, I'm the historian tonight, so here we go. So a little bit of site history. We don't know exactly, because I didn't bother to look, but 1987 is when the library was built. So I suspect Library Park was also built about that same time. 2007, the parking lot was expanded. A little picture there on the left shows that expansion. At the time, library was already cramped for space, very popular library even back in 2007. So staff was asked to, how many parking places can you put in there and not go into the wet areas and not take out all the trees? And so that was the result there. Shortly thereafter, 2009, 10, that was probably, I think 9 was the first year we had Memorial Day Parade, is my recollection, or about that time. And so people got excited about this idea of a monument. And so that rendition on the right was Jessica Bloom, was on our Art and Beautification Board at the time. And that was her concept for this. A picture was drawn by HB&B, but between 2009 and 2010, they designed it and constructed that, but nothing simple. There was her diagram of what it looked like, and you could see the red dots where the columns are, and you can kind of picture some of those things. The red dot down here is where the 5 emblems for the 5 branches of the services are, et cetera. But it used the existing sidewalk and the existing vegetation. You can see existing trees that were remaining. But underneath that, already at that time, it was wet. And so I didn't remember this, but there was a lot of work done to put in under drain for that. It's just small pipes, 4-inch and 2-inch pipes, kind of like you do to drain a field sort of thing. But when we look back at the drawings back in 2009 and 10, this is the work that they did. I'll point out up here, there's the play equipment. So that play equipment was already there. And over here is where the edge was of that amphitheater. So they were working around that. But these lines here were what they did for draining it at the time, and there was wetland was on this side. Remember, that was 2007 or 2009 and 10, a little bit different stormwater rules back then, and we all know wetlands increase in size. So that was the concern. Here's a picture from the construction up on top, a nice panoramic view. And over here, you can see there's the play structure. And over here, for those of us who remember having our kids sit on this grass and watch Buck and Elizabeth do their show for the kids, this used to be dry, but even back then they went that far to try to get this to dry out some. So I think it was interesting to me to see that was a problem back then too. So what we've talked about was this came to us, remember the ARPA money, we went to the Park and Rec Board, one of them here, and said, you've got some money, what would you like to do? One of the things they came back to you and said, we'd like to have a tot lot with a fenced area in the spot next to that bigger structure between Veterans Monument and the other structure. So they had $100,000 for that. We started off looking that direction. Well, and their idea originally was just remove some grass, put down some play chips at a play structure. We buy out a catalog and put up a fence. Well, we get to looking at that wet, soggy grass. And at the time we looked at it, was really wet. So we looked at that under drainage needed. That's when we discovered the plans from before, decided that's all clogged up. So that became a bigger project. About that time, we had a conversation with council. Can't remember exactly how it shook out, but I think collectively we said it'd be cool if we could find some more money for that. And I think the county council, our county council member came forward, or we approached him somehow and said, could we get some money? And so that was the 2 sets of money we got that year from the county council's REIT funding that they distribute out to various places in their district. We got $250,000 for this under drainage and other park improvements. So the staff concept was to fix the drainage for the tot lot and other areas, rehab the heaved sidewalks, pavers, make it more acceptable, kind of rehab the park maybe add reflective plantings or other things instead of grass, the grass over the amphitheater. Didn't know if we could really preserve that or not, but just be a little creative about how we look at that. And one of the things along the way, we as a city have not been able to accept names for engraving on those columns since before COVID. I don't know when they stopped doing it. But there just is not much more space. And basically anybody could come to the city, and I think it was $80 or $90, which was the cost of the engraving. You could have a loved one or just a friend or anybody you knew who was in the armed services, have their name put up there, living, past, Mill Creek resident or not. And so I think what happened was that monument quickly filled, maybe way faster than the original designers had thought about it. So we thought about would we put maybe more columns or some other accommodations. So I called up Jessica Bloom at the time and said, hey, would you be willing to come back under a contract and give us, if you had some other ideas on how to add more columns. So that's kind of where we were. Ian Breedboard, I think about that same time, did some brainstorming and some more extensive work ideas at Veterans Monuments. Said, geez, let's just open this up. What could be done if we have some more money? And through the legislative session, Senator Lubbock was able to get $250,000 for capital project money to add to this. So now we've got the $100 grand for the play structure, wasn't enough, $250 for under drainage, $250 from the state. So now we've got a significant amount of money, but this has become a full park renovation project. That's not just slapping a tot lot. So this has become a bigger deal. And I'm pointing out there that it's really kind of at the concept stage. We didn't go into this with a concept that you bought off on, that we planned and scoped and said it's going to cost $600,000. Where do we find the money? We kind of found the money and are going up backwards. So it's fortuitous we've got this money, but it is just emphasizing we're still kind of at that concept stage, and there's still some planning and site considerations in particular. Those constraints, you've heard us talk about it. We just got the third bid in yesterday for the wetland delineations, good old wetland stuff. We have to figure out how big that wetland is and what kind of buffers would be required. Parking, people have wished for more parking, but we are maxed out for parking. Without paving something that will trigger surface water considerations, which would take away space, we probably are maxed out on the parking. And like I said, any impervious surface additions are going to trigger more trouble for us probably. And at that point, I'm going to turn over Martin back to the governance manuals and the roles of the boards. Take it away, Martin.
So basically, according to the governance manual, there's just kind of clear up kind of the misconceptions about the grants that city staff have brought forward and things that we are going to bring forward in the future. But we just want to make sure it was clear that regarding grant opportunities that we bring forward, there are two requirements here. And as I mentioned, the first one is that if there's material matching dollars, so the city has to bring forward some money to match with what the agency is actually providing us, and we'll that's something that would trigger bring something to council. The second is if there's an impact on policy. And so pretty obvious if there's something that's impacting current policy, then in terms of funding, whether it's impacting budget, existing policies, and that's another requirement that would allow us to bring that to council as well. But after discussions with the team, and of course, regardless, we're still going to bring things forward from a material amount to council, just to make sure that there's transparency on kind of what we're working on, and things especially that impact any displacement of existing budget or things of that nature. So, but I just want to make it kind of clear, kind of what that governance manual does state in terms of what we need to bring forward, and it's only these two requirements. So with that, we can take any questions, and city attorneys online too, if you have any things that I can't answer.
Councilmember Steckler?
Yeah, just to clarify, because I was around when we made this change, and I just wanted to clarify so that I understand. The city staff had retained a sizable grant for the purpose of putting in 2 crosswalks on 132nd. And because a young girl had died trying to jaywalk across the street due to desire to not go way down to the intersection on 35th and cross. And so it was a sizable grant, but the problem was city got the grant and then came to council and said, okay, not to do this, I've got to hire this person and do this, and I'm going to need some extra help. And at the time, the council said, well, we can't afford all of that. And the city employee at the time said, well, I could just give back the grant. And for that purpose, it was somebody on the council, not me, but somebody else on the council that said, you know, we should approve any and all grants that the city is going after before we go after them, so that we would never be in a situation where we'd have to give a grant back again. Okay, and that was why we created this. And it may not be what we wrote in the governance manual. And good news is I'm sure you've talked with our attorney on this. So I just wanted to clarify that if the city chooses to go after a grant, they do not have to get approval from the city council as long as there's no matching dollars, right? And I wasn't sure of the second restriction, but the first one I clearly understood. That's okay. The council, we've got, then if the city gets a grant for $1 million to put in 2 crosswalks, we don't have to approve that. City council does not need to approve that. The council does not need to approve that before the city goes after grants like that. Is that what we're saying? Just to clarify, yeah.
Correct. I'll let the city attorney respond to that one.
Okay. Where is he? I don't see his little picture.
Is he?
He's got to be there.
Here we go. How's that? Greetings from the other Washington tonight. So there are, Councilmember Steckler, you're correct. There are 2 elements in 1.3.7. One is that if there the policy is to go after grants, but if there is a grant opportunity that requires a material matching dollars or impacts policy, the obligation is for staff to come to council before seeking the grant. And there is no definition of materiality in the governance manual itself. So materiality could be $1, it could be $10,000, or it could be, you know, something along the lines of, as you know, anything 50,000 or over, that's what the city manager's authority is, has to come to you. So we could have a subsequent there. That's a policy question for council to decide. I think the city manager has made it clear that if anything, if the dollar amount is material in the sense of, you know, over a small amount of money, then I believe he said that he wanted to bring it to council ahead of time before pursuing the grant opportunity. But certainly the amount is a policy decision or policy question in and of itself, and council could provide additional guidance should it so wish to do so.
Okay. I'm still not quite clear on that. So as written here, if a grant would require material matching dollars, that's different than require if it has material impact, which is what I heard you say.
2 things. You know, there's 2 elements here. If it require material matching dollars. So some grants are for 100% of the cost of a project or 100% of the resources. Some require matching funds from the city. So if there's a match involved, or if there's no match involved, but it impacts or represents a change in city policy, and I'm trying to think of a good example of what that might be, then the obligation is to come to council before pursuing it. And as you know, we bring back grants to, you know, for council to accept them when they come in as well.
Okay. I guess I would need a definition on that second one. You're having trouble finding an example. And I'm not defending this other policy either. I mean, this was a decision that was made by a number of council members, but if the city wants to go after a grant, do we want them to come to us first, the council first, and ask for approval? Or do we think they're going to make the right decisions, and if they get the grant, then we're going to honor the grant?
So when you said some of the council members up here brought this to the attention that we wanted them pursuing all of the grants. I was one of those people. But the caveat being that anything that required matching funding had to come to council
That
for
makes sense.
approval first. So that's really the nexus of this conversation, if I'm guessing correctly, right? So they're just, I guess, reaffirming the process with us, is my understanding.
And I totally agree with that, except the example that I was using that started this whole process was the crosswalk one, which had no matching funds.
No,
But
it
the-
had a lot.
I don't think it did.
No, that was.
And it was a policy issue.
Yeah,
That, the crosswalk was a problem because it required us to put in a lot of money.
I thought it was,
So,
well, I could have
Yeah,
sworn
and,
that was 100% because I didn't understand why we were turning it away.
The state gave us, it was $750,000. And it was predicted to be over $1 million for the project, and Snohomish County wouldn't put any money into it. And it wasn't a budgeted CIP project. And so the issue was staff was over their skis, thinking this was a great idea, and it was an interesting idea, but it wasn't a project that the council had approved. And then the fact that the county wasn't supporting it was kind of indicative of what was going on. It was also a policy decision that wasn't talked about a lot at the time, but we as a city don't control signalization of the highway. But by doing that, we would have taken on responsibility for something that is larger cities have to do, but we as a smaller city didn't want to cross over that limit of us taking on responsibility for signage and signalization of a highway. So that was the policy part of it too. That wasn't brought up as much at the time. And that's why this is written this way. Because there was two things that were staff got way ahead of us.
Do you recall that as a, do
Councilmember-
you recall that as a matching, there was matching funds in that grant? I don't recall that. Do
The
you recall
project was
that?
gonna be over
Yes.
$1 million and they only had 750.
Okay, but it wasn't a matching grant. The bid came in, somehow we found the grant was for 750,000, which supposedly would cover it, but when we did the cost estimate on it, it came in at $1 million. So we would have to match funds against it, but that wasn't part of the grant. That was a grant that had no matching funds. That was the thing, right? Just being clear, that one was 750 grand, no matching funds, but it wasn't enough money to cover the cost. The bid that we got.
Okay,
And so that was the difference. I agree with matching funds. I'm fine. I totally agree with that one. I'm fine with the council, city not bringing other grants forward if they're not matching funds. I think matching funds makes sense, but other than that, I don't see any reason to bring something
okay,
forward.
Councilmember Paddock has a question as well.
I guess just a comment. It seems like this is exactly what we want, which is we eliminate friction for staff to go after grants that we're all in violent agreement about wanting. Grants that don't tie us to some sort of additional spend without our permission and doesn't change our policy without our permission. I mean, it seems like this is like the best of both worlds.
And the other idea behind it was that the project also had kind of a council consensus, that it didn't just come out of left field, which is ideally, in a nutshell, saying in a nice way, what happened here. Director Todd, am I correct?
Yes.
Thanks.
Right, there were some people who did.
Councilmember Duque and Councilmember Allison have their mics raised too. So Councilmember Duque was first and then Councilmember Allison.
I'll yield my time because it's not relevant to this particular where we're at. So I'm willing to wait.
Okay.
If I could maybe just clarify the question, then we can move on, because so clarifying that question, that grant was a non-matching grant, non-matching fund grant. Are we okay with allowing this city to go after grants that are non-matching without having to first get council approval? That's pretty simple. What you just stated here is you do when it's matching funds. The second area is very kind of squishy, but the
I'm not sure that this is the moment to have that discussion. This is put down under old business for specifically just to approve this grant. I think if we want to have a discussion on whether or not we want to clarify the policies and the policy manual, that needs to be a separate item agenda for us to come back and have a discussion, or maybe a study session
Fine
at a
with that.
future date.
Is it possible for me to just jump in here real quick? No matter what, for us to spend money, if it's gonna be over $50,000, that's gonna affect budget and that's gonna have to come to council. So even if it's a grant fund, even if we're getting money in, if it has to come out of our expenses, we still have to bring that to council. So that alleviates the majority of these issues.
And even in the grant application process as well, I think anything that we bring forward that's material enough, I think you know us well enough that anything that we bring forward will be brought to council, so you have at least eyeballs on kind of what we're doing ahead of time. Because still we could circumvent the process by applying for grants, and they could be coming in even prior to the process being, grant acceptance happening. So also want to mention there's another piece of it as well, is there's a capacity impact too on staff as well. So that's what we assess on our end is, the ability to, if we do bring in grants, let's say we bring in body worn camera grant or something of that nature, that's really small, 10, 20, 30,000. Sometimes we have made decisions on that without council approval, but and we've assessed the capacity impact on the police side, for example, if that's feasible. So there is some decision making that has to happen on this point, but I think it's good to keep in mind the 50,000 mark, maybe. But I think we'll going forward, keep council apprised of what's going on. And I also want to mention too, there's from a policy standpoint, there could be an impact because the AMB board or the Parks board may be involved in making decisions too on behalf of kind of the project that they're thinking about that they want to bring forward. So that's just another piece of it that could be more of a policy side impact on kind of what projects are brought forward. So.
Okay, Councilmember Duque.
Hmm?
Okay, or Connie?
Yeah.
Councilmember Allison?
So I think it's simply, we have a capital improvement project plan, right? We talk about those, they get added to the list. If the focus of the staff is to look for funds, that are targeted toward those projects, and if they want to go beyond that, we have a conversation about an additional capital project. If it's over $50,000 expenditure, then we won't get wires crossed. So this policy seems just fine as long as you're following that other process, which is make sure we have the conversation about capital projects and we get things added to that list appropriately.
Now, Councilmember Duque.
I guess I'll wrap with this part is I actually really appreciate you bringing this back to us for us to see the governance manual about, the process and bringing it to, because I think that's really important in understanding how this goes. Because I constantly have questions about when does the Park and Recreation Board, when does Art and Beautification Board needs to be pulled in? What are they actually being pulled in? Is it a quick, is it an advisory like we're thinking about this gut check because you are citizens of this city? Do you agree with that? Do you have any additional ideas? And it's just more of like those touch bases. I think that's all really important. And I absolutely agree that it's especially when we talk about our Mill Creek strategic vision, if it fits under one of those categories and it's a CIP, then that makes sense to me. So thank you for bringing this. That was very helpful in understanding this whole process. The only thing I separately wanted to bring up as a reminder as we move forward in accepting this grant, accepting this grant. I kept seeing Memorial Park listed, but then I also see Veterans Monument, and then I keep seeing Library Park. And so I think I heard earlier that you're going to talk about something about how to like either make sure we're referring to it as the same thing or whatever you're planning on doing. But I think that would be helpful in understanding. And I would hope that I assume when receiving the grant money, we weren't already stuck on what we're going to do for that. Like the concept is still just very much in concept phase of ideally what we maybe would like. Because for me, I know I would like to see more ability for names, but I don't know if additional expansion or what does it look like, if that makes sense. And same thing it was the same conversation I had with the Parks and Recreation Board, because I know that additional area of the play structure that was referenced was swings, right? In that additional green area that's soggy. It was an idea as what can we do there? And those are the ideas for it. But at the end of the day, can't bring that much traffic into the library park because the main point of that park is still the library. And so it can't be some big destination area, because
Councilmember
it
Duquesne,
can't be accommodated.
if we're gonna get off into discussing
Nope.
our ideas and thoughts about the concepts, we need to actually have a motion and move forward and then discuss it during that
Fantastic.
part. So if there are no other questions about what's presented, then do I have a motion from someone?
We got a few more slides, Mayor Pro Tem. if
Oh, okay.
That's good. So, just a second, slide on policy, procedure and guidelines, just outlining, also from the governance manual, Parks and Rec Board, as well as the A&B Board, guidelines and kind of what their responsibilities are. So I just wanted to make sure that when we move forward, that we're all reminded, even staff, because when I went through this, I didn't realize that specific responsibilities of each board. So I think it was a good idea to bring this forward, so we're all on the same page as to what those are, and you can from here kind of get an idea of kind of what's going to happen moving forward with those two boards as we start to work on the tot lot, as well as the proposed improvement to Veterans Monument. Director Todd kind of alluded to it briefly, but memorial refers to deceased. So on all those stones are listed individuals who are part of the military or some branch regardless. So it's not really a memoriam, it's more a monument. So it's just more making sure that our definitions are clear. Even I was confused at the point. So yep. How do I go back? There we go. So what we're looking for really is kind of affirmation of kind of what we're doing overall. And I apologize. This is this whole PowerPoint we kind of put together just in the past day because we didn't have one originally. I thought it'd be just more straightforward in terms of getting your affirmation for the Veterans Monument piece, but then Director Todd had a good idea about bringing forward everything. And just reminding council about kind of where we are in terms of guidelines and also kind of the next steps. And we just wanted to make sure that you were, we were transparent with you about everything that is going to be happening in the next probably 6 months to a year. So number one, you're familiar with the advisement that you gave us in terms of the tot lot at Library Park. Number two, we identified the need for more funding due to the site conditions. Council implicitly approved seeking that funding for site work drainage, as Mike mentioned. Then came the ideas about the Veterans Monument and then improving that site. The next things on the list, once we get that drainage study done, is number 4 is for staff to work on a tot lot design in concert with the Parks and Rec Board. And then applicable budget related to that. And then number 5, design will continue with the Parks and Rec Board and the MB boards regarding the design of the proposed Veterans Monument as well. And then finally, we'll bring council to approve final design. Within this process, Parks and Rec Board and AMB Board will bring forward designs and to council and their input on kind of what they believe how things should be either improved on or designed. So does that take any more questions or with regards to the process? And this is pretty kind of informal, but we'll have more ideas, and we're looking probably towards July, probably when that state funding will probably be ready for us to accept. And then that's when the grant acceptance will occur with council. Right now, it's just more getting your approval to continue moving forward. That's what we're pursuing today. This is your affirmation of kind of what's going on.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. Make a motion for the city manager and staff that are seeking a motion to pursue the grant from Washington State to improve Memorial Park and all the said names that were included after that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now we can have discussion. Did you have more you wanted to discuss, Councilmember Decay? Okay.
Well, I'll just say thanks for the synopsis of everything here and this is where I suspected that we were, but and we still don't know where we'll be because we're still waiting on the wetland study and what that's going to look like. So some of us be prepared to have some hearts broken and it just is what it is. But thanks to all the hard work to A and B board and the Parks and Rec board for all they do. Really appreciate it. And I know it's going to come out a nice shiny new toy when all is said and done. And good work, everybody, staff as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Decay?
So I think you guys aren't gonna like this. My question is, why do we have this motion to approve to pursue the state of Washington grant to improve? It says Memorial Park, but we now are saying Veterans Park, Library Park. Why are we doing this if you just gave us a slide that said we don't need to, the staff can go after one unless it's matching or policy based, and you've already told us this doesn't hit either of those. So I guess why are we doing it here? I understand the motion to accept it when it comes in July, but why are we doing this for you to pursue if you just told us we don't need to do that? Or what am I missing?
No, that's a good catch, because initially, the intent was per the governance manual, I initially thought that actually we needed approval from council.
Because I did too, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. So we decided just to bring this forward anyway. And that's what it was. But then I realized after that the actual manual does not require us to do that. But given that we also brought forward the tot lot in the drainage study ahead of time, we thought it'd be a good idea to actually just to be on the safe side and get council approval anyway on the state funding as well. But initially I thought that we had to do that up front. And so that's when I developed that agenda to move forward and then get that approved.
So going forward, you can go after these types of grants without needing city council approval.
Unless they meet those two requirements.
Yes, no material, no matching funds, you at $250,000, it's okay with me. But clarifying, you can go out and pursue a grant like that without council.
I think there's a judgment call on the materiality aspect of it, if there is matching funds, as the city attorney mentioned, but theoretically, yes.
Well, this grant that we're approving right
Mhm.
now, the one we're voting on, has no matching funds.
Correct.
Okay.
No policy impact.
Yeah, so this one, you do not need to get our approval
That's
prior
correct.
to
That's
accepting the
correct.
grant. That's what we
That's
just, it's kind of squishy. That's where we don't have a problem with it. We just want to
Yeah,
make it clear.
absolutely. Yes,
that
I have
going
no problem
forward,
with
we
it.
don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Or you don't have to do this with us. Is that what we're saying? Clearly. And it sounds like yes.
But in fairness to the city manager and the assistant city manager, I think the redundancy here is just a little bit necessary because of perhaps potential past instances where staff felt they were included and fully involved in all the projects that were on there. So now that you've included all the places that we're accepting monies from, the bases are covered. Everybody's aware. We're all on the same page. No harm, no foul with a simple motion.
Well, that was the original intent. That's
Right.
correct. That was pretty clear. Yeah, that's kind of on the same lines of what we were thinking as well. There was a lot of confusion as to what needed to be approved, what didn't. And so we thought it would be best overall just to get council approved and move forward regardless. To make sure that we're all on board with the policies that were set forth in the governance manual for the MV board, parks board, as well as 1.3.7 regarding what qualifies. So, I mean, if you choose not to approve it, that's fine.
No,
But because we're gonna move forward because it's not required, but we want to make sure that,
So if I can just finish if that's okay. Joe, so in the future, maybe you'll come to us with something like this, but there's no motion attached. It's somewhere else in the agenda. Maybe it's in your reports or, it's letting us know, hey, we did pursue this grant and that.
Correct.
And you might even have a PowerPoint to give us all this great information.
That's
But
correct.
there won't be an actionable item associated with it because we've already determined in our governing board and by us all nodding our heads in our conversation today that we're good with you guys going forward.
And there may be cases where there may be a questionable policy impact.
Right, and you might just
that
bring
we
it up
might
to
bring
us.
forward, because it's not just straightforward sometimes. Policies go pretty deep and the implications of doing a project there's layers to it that we may not be able to advise on, and that's what we need your help on. So on being on the safe side, we might bring it forward anyway.
Well, I appreciate you crossing your Ts and dotting your Is. So thank you, City Manager.
Councilmember Ellison?
Yeah, so do we already have two capital projects, or are they one capital project for the tot lot and the monument work?
I
And
believe they were added as two separate projects, if I recall correctly.
Have we actually
we-
added the
We
veterans?
kind of backed ourselves into this by saying we've got ARPA money, went to the Parks Board and said, what'd you like to do? And they said, put in a tot lot. And we did not put in a capital project, did not have a project for Library Park that says tot lot. When we went and got the county money to get it, we had to have it in the CIP. So you have taken action to add a project to the CIP that is called tot lot and under drainage. You don't have a CIP that says veteran
Memorial.
monument.
okay,
So we've kind of backed into this. I think Councilmember Allison said it pretty well earlier, since we didn't have a CIP project and then seek money, we're kind of going backwards. And so that's why staff wanted to bring this forward, because we kind of went backwards.
yeah, and I think all of us support that move, right? I don't want us to, knock this down because we didn't do something bureaucratically correct, right? We were all, I think, one mind. We want that expanded so that it can serve the community. But we probably need to go back and do that, right? Get it caught up.
And you'll see for next year's CIP, we'll change the description again.
Okay, to
be
include that.
Including that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We probably
Okay.
won't do it now because we don't think
No.
we need to, because we won't be
Right.
approving a contract to build this probably till later on, but that will also be something Dan will bring to you as a.
Put it on the next change log.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have any defined scope on this yet, so just so we're
Right.
very clear, with this grant, we were very, very broad on monument expansion and park improvement. So we just didn't want to get ahead of council on that piece.
Yeah, I guess for that reason, I think we are better off passing a motion because we have a little bit of cleanup to do in the administrative side of what this is really covering. So I was
Yeah.
all with Councilmember Duque, what are we doing this for until all the facts came out? So thanks.
And for the record too, I think early on when there were discussions with Senator Lovett and Chuck Wright, who actually came, if you recall, Chuck Wright came forward to us about. And so there were discussions with him and Senator Lovett, and I had a meeting with them about adding names. And so what that discussion kind of morphed into, well, maybe we can improve the actual entire area. At that time, what should have happened is I should have brought forward to council kind of the things that we're working on. I think it's material enough, regardless of what the policy says, because $250,000 is a lot of money that will actually, from a capacity endpoint, impact staff and the time that we're working on projects, which could move us from other things that you're already working on, that you're already having us work on too. So I see where the mistakes that I made in the past, and I think going forward, you have to worry about it. We'll make sure that we're a little more careful about how we, allocate funds. But so there are implications of bringing money in regardless of what the policy says. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Okay, next we move on to the consent agenda, and I have a question. Laurel, this is under the consent agenda. So were you speaking on it, or was it just under here? Because you're just letting us know what you're doing and we just need.
Right, so I just included the agenda so that everyone knew what was going on. I know we've already discussed getting rid of the vehicles in prior meetings. So that's why we stuck it under consent, because we had that conversation.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And the audit committee was myself and Councilmember Paddock. Councilmember Paddock, were there any exceptions?
No exceptions.
No exceptions. I always forget to do something, don't I? And then payroll and benefit ACH payments in the amount of $565,577.04. Any exceptions?
No exceptions.
No exceptions. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
We also have minutes.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the minutes. Oh, yeah, they went down there, sorry. Next page. And we have the city council regular meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2024. Do I have any objection to the minutes or any? Okay, perfect. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, hold on, did I?
Well, I just have one question. So
Okay.
in the vehicle presentation, there's a proposed motion. So did we just deem that that's not necessary?
We did away with that as a council, about 2 years ago, a year or two ago, something like that, this dollar figure of a surplus vehicle.
Okay.
Didn't require council action.
I apologize. It was habit.
know.
So I stuck something in there you don't.
We don't really
any
need to take
separate
action on. Thank
motion.
you.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? say
Aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. Next up, I have reports. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The first report is just, now that the short session, legislative session ended, we're already starting to kind of work moving forward. Advocacy is kind of a year-long process. So the committee met a few weeks back and we have our assignments moving forward in terms of looking for researching the different levels of government, including county, state, and federal, and just kind of seeing what's out there in terms of what cities are getting from a funding perspective and kind of what capital projects they're working on. So we're already kind of starting this long session process. I think between May and August, sometime probably later in that period of time, we'll have some draft of a legislative agenda. So just want to kind of just bring that forward. Second, Deputy City Manager and our Human Resources Manager had an opportunity to attend the AWC Labor Relations Institute conference over in Yakima. It's a second year of attending this. It was a good opportunity to better understand the legal landscape of employment relations and just learn from some of the top legal minds in the industry that are there every year. And so it was a good conference. Last is just wanted to kind of just mention to council that staff is starting to move forward and our cleanup efforts across the city. Thanks to Councilmember Duque, who's bringing forward a draft of a graffiti ordinance, and we'll be bringing that as a new initiative on the 28th. I think it's planned on the 28th. And then we'll have a follow-up study session on that as well. Other things we're working on is just kind of solidifying our shopping cart process, and as well as going to be doing some little bit of inventory across the city in terms of debris and trash in certain areas that are heavily infesting, that are heavy in certain areas. And so some of those areas may have encampments on there. We're not sure, but that'll be happening in these coming months, and we'll start to bring forward a process similar to what we did with the homeowners over at is it Sunset Lane, I think. And so to make sure that we have due process and getting those the cleanup approved by council. So you'll see that in the coming months. So with that, I'll head off to Scott, Marketing Communications, to update us on City Chat and Memorial Day ceremony. Or Jody, sorry. Or Jody.
Yes, Scott is not here. I see Jody is online. Are you able to unmute Jody?
Did you go to the kitchen to make dinner?
Okay, so she's not here, but the report was City Chat open house is happening, and that's happening tomorrow night. And then Memorial Day ceremony. I don't know the exact date, if anybody else knows what date that one is.
I believe it's Monday, the 27th.
And I have a question about the Memorial Day ceremony real quick, just to throw out there for you because, Representative Donahue messaged me this morning and asked if she was gonna need to be, coming to the Memorial Day, ceremony. She has not received any requests, and so I was assuming yes, because they usually do, but I wasn't sure what to tell her. So if you guys can make sure you reach out to our representative.
Okay, we'll have Martin reach out, and I believe Senator Levick was also looking for a formal invite, so we'll put something together.
Perfect. And don't forget Representative Berg as well.
And then both of them, yeah, thanks.
So do we have any explanation of what's gonna happen at Memorial Day ceremony or?
I don't know the agenda, but I could find out and we can, yeah, I don't.
Oh, Jody unmuted.
Oh,
Jody.
Hi,
has That's okay.
I'm so sorry. I actually did just step away for a second. This is running back to my phone. Huge apologies here. I was not prepared to present for tonight, but I can give you a quick update on both of those things. We have, so city chat tomorrow night, the same thing that we talked about last week. One of the things that was kind of left up in the air as we left is that we will have a table for council. So council will have a table and we'll also have a seating area and kind of a more chat specific area for Mayor Pro Tem. And then for the Memorial Day ceremony, it will be very similar to what we've done in the past, which is Library Park begins at 9 a.m. We have reached out to Senator Levick and have heard back that he did not want to speak, but he will be there. And then we also did just hear from Susan Delbenny's office today that she will also be there. And I will make sure that we reach out to Representative Donahue and Berg if we have not already. One other thing that Director Todd brought up today was just to have us make sure that the library facilities would not be, and the parking area would not be encumbered by the project that's going to be happening at the library beginning June 2nd, I believe it is, or June 3rd. And I did reach out to our contact and she's checking to be sure, but we should be just fine for that. So everything should go forward as planned.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Jody, we're not doing a Memorial Day parade, is that correct, or are we?
We are not.
Okay, just the Veterans Day parade.
Just Veterans Day parade and Memorial Day ceremony.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just a little extra, Jody, since we're reaching out to all of our representatives, I believe Councilmember Meade should probably be included in that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We will do that. Any other questions?
Just on the city chat, I was just curious how many council members are going to be attending
I'll be out of town.
tomorrow. Okay, so right now it's just the two of us, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Melissa counts.
Yeah, no, I counted Melissa, I didn't count you. Because you're behind me. So there'd be three of us there and Mayor Pro Tem will be there, so we have a notice, I assume, going out about, okay, great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Perfect. Thank you so much, Jody.
All right, thank you.
And no other reports?
Correct.
All right, next up is our reports. So I've got a couple things to go over tonight. First, I'll start with last week I did not get to this because it was so late that I didn't want to keep everybody and make us have to push out. So just want to let everybody know, I don't know how many of you received a letter or request for support to send to the county for the Martha Lake Park, Airport Park up here, in request for supporting the adding of pickleball courts up there. And they have some information that is online. And I know I actually did send in a letter. I believe some others, Councilmember Cavallari may have sent in a letter of support too.
And if I just may jump in, I think we're presenting on June 4th. It's on the agenda as well. a proposal, just
I'm gonna wear that.
according to the mayor.
Okay. I actually did send in a letter, and so everyone just, so that you know that they are looking, since it's just right here, it'd be really nice for the residents who've been requesting pickleball courts. They're looking at adding possibly 8, pickleball courts up there. And it will be amazing for everyone who's been looking for one. It's a great location. It's not on top of the houses, so it will not be bothering people with the noise. They have the space that we don't have. So it's a great opportunity for us, and it's a county project. So it's really exciting if everyone wants to look into that. Next up, I put at your seats tonight, there was a request to the mayor to, for the city to sign on for a letter with other cities to the county council on behalf of the executive's office to the county council, requesting that they add a potential additional sales tax measure on the November ballot to address public safety needs that would go to public safety. So I thought we were going to need to make this decision tonight, but we've asked them, and we can put this off till after the next meeting so that everybody has time to research it, look into it, and come back with your opinions, your thoughts, your questions, and the mayor will be back by then. And then we can decide if we want to sign on as well to this letter that will go to the county council, asking them to put this initiative on the ballot. So everybody look into that over the next couple of weeks and come back prepared to ask questions or know where you stand on that. And also I received some information, and I also saw the actual email come out from the library that the date has been set, as Jody mentioned, for the 2nd, I think it was, of June, which, to start the renovations of the library. I'm excited that we've gotten the money and the renovations are gonna be done. I'm not excited that it's happening right as school gets out when everyone needs the library, all the kids need the library the most, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as my mother-in-law says. So just we'll need to help navigate through that and make sure our residents understand how they're going to be impacted and where they need to go to get their resources during the 3 months that this renovation is going to take place. And I'm sure Snow is also going to be making sure people understand what to do as well. So we just need to be helping them with the communication. And that is all I had for my report. And I will try not to forget people this week. So we will start with Councilmember Cavallari. Any reports?
Thanks, Mayor. Just brief, you actually nailed it for the most part. It was regarding Airport Park, the expansion, the proposals that are out there for pickleball courts and all it would actually, all the problems it would actually solve for our residents and the community around us. Not to mention it also sitting right smack dab in the middle of our municipal urban growth area. So a lot of wins here. And I think we're supposed to be talking about it on June 4th. I know Carol Oafs from County Parks and I have had several discussions, and I know Director Todd has as well. And we've submitted letters in support, talked about potential partnerships, and I think it's a great idea. I think it fills a lot of voids that we've been talking about for at least a year or two, and without impacting the community directly. Thanks.
Councilmember Steckler?
No report.
Councilmember Allison?
No report.
Councilmember Duque?
A report. I couldn't keep going with the trend. First, I just wanted to share from the Parks and Recreation Board. You may know that in our calendar of many events that the staff and team are working on includes a fun run. It's been discussed before, but I just want to share with you that we just have such a great Parks and Rec board that they want to create, they want to even meet additionally to help support that fun run committee or fun run group. So it's just nice to see them going. So I'll be attending when we have that fun run. I'm calling it a subcommittee, but I'm sure that's not officially the name, but when that happens, and I'll let you guys know if there's anything as a council that we can support with. I wanted to share that in terms of news from the chamber, that there was did anyone attend the wine walk at the Mill Creek Town Center. That's okay. Because it was a huge success. They said there was about 450 people in attendance. So it was really big. I drove through it. I had two kid birthday parties at that same time. You know, that's the stage of life I'm in right now. But I got to drive through while picking up a cake at Town and Country, and there were so many people around. And even later in the day, tons of just good amount of walking. It didn't feel crowded, but there was a good amount of people. And I know that our chamber president talked about how nice it was to see restaurants still busy later in the evening, like even around 9:30 p.m. because it's not always the case with Town Center. So that was a great event. And so if you have an opportunity to talk to anyone at the chamber, let them know. The other thing with the chamber is there was an event previously known as the Art Walk. It's now going to be called, I believe it's Mill Creek Handmade, and I'm just looking to see if anyone wants to correct me on it, but it could be Handmade Mill Creek. I'll have to, my notes are funny on it, but that's June 2nd, 1 to 6. So it's local artists displaying their work and participating businesses throughout Mill Creek Town Center again. So similar to the wine walk where businesses hosted a winery there, this will be business artisans and handmade crafts and all that kind of thing. So please spread the word, and I'll make sure to share with you guys as well. I also attend, I think you guys know because I report on it monthly, a community engagement meeting where we have different representatives. And so here's a couple of those updates for you guys, just so that you know. If you've never heard, the Everett Public Schools has a family resource center that it's something that they work with in terms of with each of the individual schools to provide resources for certain families. And there's all these requirements, but it's always been in north part of our Everett Public Schools. They've just opened a south one at Silver Lake Elementary. I share this with you, not necessarily for, I'm sharing this with you because it's wonderful there's a resource closer to us, because that was the whole goal. I'm very, I hope they're able to get these funding that they need to be able to staff it appropriately and all what that looks like. But I share because they are constantly looking for donations of even like cleaning supplies, hygiene. They have all these things available there. So if you happen to be part of an organization that does anything like that and you're looking for any new groups or organizations, that is something that is local to us, and that is important to flag. And let me see, I think I might have one other thing. Oh, yeah, this was it. I think maybe you guys have known, but just because South County Fires usually attends these meetings, that Leslie Hines, the Public Information Officer for South County Fire, is retiring. So you may have met Leslie before, because while we were doing all of our very intense things. So if you didn't know, I just wanted to flag because I always think it's a big deal. And they are taking new applications for that position. So there you go. Those are my reports. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Paddock, any reports?
Yes, just between 0 and Melissa, I have a range there. Just a plug for that handmade Mill Creek, whatever the name really is. Last year was fantastic. Artisans and whatnot were out there. I know we've had a lot of talk from the community about at the last city chat, and I think the one prior about the speed and the speed cameras and whatnot. I don't know if folks saw in the paper this weekend. Everett put out, they're starting to put out their speed cameras. They went ahead and did some warnings as kind of the first shot, and saw a 70% reduction in speeders going through those areas. So as we're going into Wednesday, tomorrow, and talking to folks and whatnot, I'm sure there's going to be conversations about those fast folks speeding through our community to get somewhere else. You know, speed cameras are something that works. The other thing is, I just did want to give a shout out to that shopping cart ordinance, because I've noticed in the last couple of places that I've gone to get groceries, when Town and Country has been unaffordable for that particular week, I've noticed that they're putting on those little devices that won't let you take the cart out of the parking lot, and sometimes out of the store, which is fun to watch. But you know, well done on that. That's something that worked. Brett Meyer, yeah, that's great. And then since the idea of a fun run was brought up, and a couple of the council members weren't here last week, I'll make another plug for the Girls on the Run 5K celebration, which it sounds like we're going to have a pretty good turnout from the folks that are on this dais. I think we've got most of the representatives going to participate, as well as some council members, some county council members. It's a great opportunity to celebrate a lot of girls that have worked tirelessly through the last semester to build a community with each other and to accomplish a goal. They're the ones that will be running, so please do not show up in your running gear ready to run a 5K with 12-year-olds. I've already had a couple of questions about that. But please do come in whatever gear you like to cheer those 5 to 12-year-olds on in that run. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we are down to audience communication. Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Barb Heidel, name, city, in 3 minutes.
Barb Heidel, Mill Creek, Washington. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It seems very sad that on National Police Week, the police still have not been given their raise. If I remember correctly, the Guild had agreed to the terms back in November. They're still waiting for their pay increase. Is there a reason why the police are deprived of their raise, which was agreed upon last year, as other groups have received their raise? How ironic that you are thanking and honoring our police for their work for this week, yet you are not supporting them. I don't know who or what is holding things up, but it seems very inconsiderate and disrespectful. This has dragged on for almost 4 years. Whatever the issue is, it's long past the time to give the officers the respect, support, and increase they deserve. They're continuing to keep us safe each and every day. Let's get this done and stop and show the officers that they are important to our city. And they deserve better from our council and the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Anyone else? Perfect. And so meeting will be adjourned at 7:46 p.m. Everyone have a good evening.